Hello everybody and welcome to part 7 of my Inca El Dorado series. I want to thank you guys for the feedback that I have been receiving. There's been a lot, so I want to cover a couple of things, namely in the name of tunnel vision and habit, that kind of thing. As you guys know, I was pre-building my roads through here. Somebody pointed out they should have been built through here because we're Inca, and that's true. Just out of habit, I tend to build it to the shortest distance possible. But if you do the Inca math, you'll come to realize this is, this will probably save me a couple gold per turn for the rest of the game. So, and the delay from getting a unit from here to here, it's not even worth mentioning. Also, there's been multiple references to the hanging gardens because I opened tradition, and I haven't said it in a while, so I'll just bring it up now, get it out of the way. I tend not to play with world wonders, and the reason for that is I don't want to rely on them. I want to, hone my skills as somebody who doesn't need them to win, and then of course my opponents get them, and I win anyways. So. But at the same time, like, I'm here to learn, so it might be that trying for this one, trying for that one is actually worthwhile. Obviously, I'm building my cities up like I never have before, so there's just a lot of production everywhere, that kind of thing. So I'm fully open to the possibilities, and I will try to include that sort of thing from now on, wherever it makes sense. So in the last part, we discovered a couple natural wonders at the very end there, so now we're getting our due rewards, which includes allying with Panama City for a while, so we'll be able to count on that dies for some time. We are losing grasp on Sidon, which means the cotton's going away. And it had also said we got a new unit, but I neglected to see what that was. Okay, it looks like this spearman. Okay, so that's a decent placement, decent unit. We'll bring him up here, get some blockage going on. We're heading towards civil service, so he'll get even stronger. So hopefully this acts as a deterrent for Poland to not attack. Stable is done in Machu. We're not really in a bad spot as far as happiness goes, but also this city doesn't really need to market too much. I think I'm still going to build a market. It is a maintenance-free building, and more coastal cities are popping up, so that might be an incentive to send trade route to the city. Let's see, finish that tile there, so we'll do this. Let's see, what else is going on? This boat is coming up here, mostly to protect this trade route, but we might as well have it keep on exploring. Let's see here. We were exploring with this guy. Oh, that is not a good place to find ourselves in. We're in the rough at least, and we do have survivalism, so it's not the end of the world, but this could get a little nasty. A lot nasty, I don't know. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here's another thing about tunnel vision and habit. Somebody had mentioned earlier in the series that I could have settled. I don't know if this is where they were talking about, but quite possibly for the purpose of picking up the Great Barrier Reef. He said that he picks up whatever natural wonders he can. And I tend to be that way also if they're somewhat nearby, which this doesn't qualify for. Going for one with nature, obviously, that was something. So, it turns out this wouldn't have been the worst city in the world. We don't have cocoa or dyes. Obviously, we didn't see these special tiles at first. But I do think that Wellington actually already had this tile on their borders when we found out about it. So the likelihood we could have gotten over here in time and would it have been worthwhile. I don't think so, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. I forget at what point of our progress that was. And then also with regards to the hanging gardens, like I was getting to, I did want to remind everybody that these cities went down fast, and we did get all of our workers fast. So even if there's ways in which things could have been done better, this is still a pretty phenomenal start. We've already got, like 3 trade routes going to the capital, so even though we didn't get the hanging gardens, and the fact that it hasn't been built yet means we probably could still get it. but I do think the capital's getting food at a fantastic rate anyway. So it's not like we're actually missing out by not having this, not having the hanging gardens. And that's kind of like my habitual play style, just not going for those things. Even when I expand, I try not to go too far away out of my own reach at the time. So like if I was to build a settler right now, I'd want to expand somewhere in here or here or something like that. I wouldn't go like Maria did, like come halfway across the world. Whoops, that guy's done. Okay, may purchase with faith, but we are currently saving up for an enhancement. We did buy one missionary to get our Pantheon cities persistent coverage, which I do not regret, but that does mean we're going to be late to the enhancement game. So I think if we stay focused on that, it's probably the best use of our faith at the moment. We will head towards civil service next. Get those added growth going on, particularly in the capital. So that's pretty good. Okay, looks like a city-state border there. This scout's mostly seen whatever it needs to. I mean, we can come back. There's a lot going on here. Let's at least go meet that city-state and figure out what's going on. Alrighty, so this guy's not relaxed. So it looks like the horse hit us and ran off like the little coward those guys can be. Let's go ahead and defend up. I don't want to travel out through here and have the horse like continue to jump on me. If we're defended and in the rough, if he does attack again, like we'll take the shot that much better, and he can just break himself on us. Or if things get too hot, we can just run away. But for now, I'd like to keep moving forward if at all possible. Obviously staying like that right next to that archer, but the archer hasn't been relaxing. He's got that civilian to protect. Alright, I think this worker was coming over to the gold. Looks like Sweden's got a different idea, but we are the Inca, so next turn this will be on our borders. We can just step up on a hill and get started right away. So otherwise that would have been kind of bad because it would have actually delayed our development by a turn. As for the spearmen, I think I want them over here. In the event that we are attacked, the city is much more important than this one worker. This luxury is fully developed. This one's only getting developed. The fact that we just got this free unit would have spiked our military a bit. Obviously Poland's still stronger and our units are spread out. I don't know how much he knows that, but we are about to hit civil service. We can upgrade them, so hopefully that remains as good of a deterrent as we can muster. Let's go ahead and lock into this guy. That way when he finishes the terrace farm, I don't have to worry about that. We do have a couple tiles with one food, but this way it kind of slows down growth if you think about it, but it looks like we're already going to be growing faster than we can actually get the new tiles developed. So biting down on granite, as they put it in chess, seems to be the way to go in that city. Oh, this guy's actually available for open borders, and I'm pretty sure we already have a boat heading that way. So the fact that he wants horses might be a time to get this out of the way, because he is far away, and I've noticed that those situations tend to lend themselves to this. Okay, so let's try and work a horse in there instead of the 2 gold. But if he feels this is less valuable than 2 gold, he might not take it. But if he does take it and it's the only horse he wants, we won't get his gold. So let's go ahead and do this. And then this way, if he values the horses a little bit differently, this should all even out. And he does go for it. So in a way, we were able to barter for open borders using horses rather than our gold per turn. I do want to fix this real quick. Normally, when I've got a tile working in production, full production like that, I try not to lock it in, just so when I go to reassignment to food tiles, it's clear to me where it is. That's actually why I altered the mod the way that I did. National College is finished, but we do have this spare citizen, and we're about to grow to a second one. So this would probably be the time to get Writers Guild up so that the citizens are putting themselves to something more useful than just hammers. There is a bit of a downside to this approach because of the fact that we've been working El Dorado pretty much the whole game. We're going to have a filler policy, which In my games, it's been my experience that's usually the norm, having at least one filler policy. I don't know if we're going to have two or not, so having the guild up and populated right away might make us have to cross that threshold, which we don't want to do. So that is the one downside to doing this. On the other hand, all that excess of culture in the city will help grab more tiles, which means subsequent citizens will have food to work, not just these hammers. But of course, we are going to have workers to do that, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Also, as far as the culture versus science, which we always seem to run into when it comes to Renaissance and rationalism, I just wanted to point out that we have a phenomenal amount of growth, so it's entirely possible that our science just kicks butt, all over the backyard. Anyways, moving on with this boat here. I did want to comment on this worker. We got a number of tiles, and I do like this better than this when it comes to civil service. However, this is the outlier, so I figured do that first, move inward, and then go from there. It's just more of a logistics thing. So we'll be working a semi-inferior tile for a minute, but that city's just playing behind because of the nature of the way we've been treating El Dorado all game long. So this will be the time where the worker finally helps him get to play some catch up. Alright, so this plan of healing up right here in place seems to be working, so we can, I guess that's the last time we'll have, no, maybe one more. Okay. Oh! A lot of things changed here. Okay, so he relaxed for one, and we get a free missionary. Okay, so it is the Mayans. If we returned it, we would make friends with them. And if we... But they would be able to spread their religion more. And if we kept it, we just, get to destroy a missionary. But I think our religion is doing fine in-house anyways. I don't know so much about outside, but he's halfway across the world anyways. So I'll just go for the goodwill. There we go. Oh! Forgot. Scout. I can move and then move again. Okay. Well, if I had realized that, I would have kept that and just given this one back to him. Oh, but that's not his worker. Okay, so I guess I'm glad I didn't. Oh, okay. It's a good thing I didn't realize I could take both this turn, or else I totally would have kept that. Now we're friends with Armas, which is food in the capital. Nice. Plus it's friendly borders that our boat can travel through, so that will be nice also. So we don't have to worry about pacing it so that we're not trespassing, which we try not to do if we can avoid it. Just as before, I'm not keen on selling our iron to him, but I am pretty keen on making the money, and we might very well be at a point where we can dissuade him from attacking us. Now, it was my intention to have Rhodey come up here and do the roads here, but Sweden's scout is again in the way. I could park it here and get started over there. So that's an option. On the other hand, we're about to hit civil service, and there's a couple of river tiles down here. So let's get... Yeah, okay, cool. You can cross the river because of the bridge and the road. Nice. So yeah, we'll buy this tile next turn and start on a plains farm there, because this will be the point where obviously the difference between river plains farm and plains farm makes a difference. So we can reap all the food that we can. It's kind of funny that we're getting all the food we can and then also making a guild to like be able to but as long as the city keeps growing, we'll be able to keep doing that. Okay, looks like another city state that we have not met yet, so that's kind of exciting. We'll go ahead and just park it here. Yep, all the workers, all the trades. Nice. Whoa, okay. Well, this is kind of cool. There are times when I've seen his ring grow green and then he goes to war anyway, so I don't think this necessarily means we can just turn our back to him. But I do think it means he's far less likely to attack us. And the fact that he's been friends with her all along, and we've been friends with her pretty early, hopefully this just like has staying power, you know what I mean? And so that we don't have to worry. Because he is volatile. Like, the fact that we're friends doesn't mean he won't attack us, but under the circumstances, I think we're A little more safe than average, perhaps. No longer friends with Mombasa. Okay. Lost food in the capital. That's okay, because we're still doing everything we can to increase this. Yeah, we are working that tile, so bam, there we go. Another terrace farm for y'all. Not one of the good ones, but still, it's a decent tile to be working right now. It is Anteater, we'll call it, because I don't feel like pronouncing all those syllables all the time. That's why we have T1 and Olan instead of what they're actually called. Okay, I guess we're back to the healing up game. This camp is not on a hill, so we can't get shot from there. So there's no point in running for cover, so to speak. Just get started on the plains farm there. It's gonna not be ready for civil service, but up until now, the workers have been doing just fine in the capital, so it's not like this was a terrible oversight or anything. We go to the sheep tile, which is a great one to have there. And the Writers Guild is finished, so we'll go ahead and slot somebody in there. We could pull the guy off the wine, but we're going to grow in one turn, so let's just put the new guy in there. Alright, civil service is next turn. Let us... So many good choices, and this is another reason why I tend to stay away from World Wonders, is that, look at the capital. There's so many things I'd like to build here. So if I was to take the time for a World Wonder, like, that would just put me behind while racking up techs with new buildings. I guess that's part of the challenge, choosing which ones are particularly important. For example, our gold flow in the city is pretty nice, so I'd like to build a market, but gold's also doing fine here, and we probably actually have better choices right now. We're going to need a writing slot at some point, but we also don't want to ramp up our culture too well. So maybe the great... No, that provides culture too, but it also provides a ramp up in great people. So we're going to want that online, like in light of the great scientists and stuff. So let's choose National Epic. I don't know if that's the best decision. Buenos Aires decides he wants Taoism, pardon me. I don't think we're acting upon it right now, but Olan will be converted naturally sooner rather than later. We're on our way to converting Lodge, so... And whichever one of those falls first, the next one will fall, and then they can both act on that, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, yep. Alright, so we got a lot going on here. It's a turn before civil service, so I'm going to go ahead and relax the spearman here so he can just upgrade right away. Anything we can do to get our military score up in short order will be beneficial.
Very well.
Washington's willing to trade straight up, so that's a good sign. He was kind of hating on us a little bit early on. I know we declared war on Poland after we met them, which was unfortunate, and then also a city-state for its worker, but I think his main point is that he likes T1, wants it for himself. Alrighty, so let's move on to market. The city is making good gold and has even another good gold tile to work, so this will be a good money town. Let's see here. You get started on the next farm. Let's see. Civil service next turn. Alright, good to know. That is going to be our principal. Let's see. Well, okay, this might be the end of the line, but we do have ice here, so we know our boat will never make it here, so we can just take a second here since we're here, get some completeness of scouting, so to speak. Alrighty, so Archer stepped out to grab a worker. Huh, where would that worker have come from, though? Like, we could see this tile. Must have been over the river. But this means we have too many civilians for him to... so let's come up here. Now we have eyes. Oh, okay. So either he's going to occupy the camp and we get shot, or he occupies the camp and this guy comes for us. So let's keep it along. We're just going to have to forget about that. It's already too strong. Even though it's got too many civilians to juggle, it's got enough units there to make that happen. So, alright, civil service. So this means a number of different things. Let's try not to lose sight here. It means we can upgrade our spearmen. It means we need to double check to make sure we're working all of our freshwater farms as best we can. And I'm pretty sure we were already doing that sort of thing. And it also means, just for you guys, I am going to switch production here to Chichen Itza. We'll try for a wonder. How's that sound? This one, it's mostly, for me anyways, it's mostly about the happiness. Any sort of like maximizing our happiness. That's why we want pagodas, etc., etc. We've been doing a good job of juggling. There will come a point where we push the limits, so anything we can do to help. And the fact that we haven't had a natural golden age yet is pretty nice too. And again, that was half by design. We've been, anytime we've had a situation where we could afford to sell off a luxury, we have been. And the reason for that has been keeping the happiness down so we don't trigger golden age too soon, so when our natural one comes along, we have as many citizens everywhere that can work the most amount of tiles, so we can maximize the gold and the production buff that a golden age gets. So, since we haven't had one yet, this is going to be particularly effective for us. So I'm happy about that. Let's give that a shot. The downside is we were a little bit roundabout getting to civil service because we went for our aqueducts first, and then of course this for Colossus. So there's no guarantee we'll get it, but you guys already know that's part of the gamble. So let's give it a shot, shall we? All right, this city has grown. Are we ready to chop that forest down yet? No, we're not. Alright, so we're at a point where this city's starting to get saturated, so I don't have a problem working the 2 hills, or the 2 production tile for the time being. Kind of bite on granite, like I said. Let's see here. We do want... Well, if we're going to finish Chichen Itza, we're going to want to ramp up our happiness, whereas we don't want to ramp up our culture. We want to, once we choose our filler policy, we'll have a clearer picture of whether or not we're going to have to take a second filler policy. So let us avoid ramping up culture right now for that reason. As far as tech, I think I want to drop back to optics here. Our river cities... you know, I was actually noticing this off record. Look at our city arrangement here. These 2 are river cities. The other 2 are both coastal and mountain cities. So none of those 3 attributes describes any from the 2. The original founding and then the satellites, you know what I mean? So that's interesting. But these coastal cities aren't going to get the ramp up in food like the river cities did, so allowing them. And yeah, right now they both only have the 1 tile, but nevertheless, they're hitting a wall as far as growth. Not so much in Machu, and in fact, once the naval trade route finishes to Machu, we'll probably send it to Machu to feed Olan, because right around the time Olan is running out of tiles to work, we're probably going to have universities, and then, you know, we're going to want to backfill that. So anyways, that's how we're going to feed the coast for the immediate future. Let's see here. Again, we'll ramp up the happiness as we approach Chichen Itza. Don't know if we'll have it, but if we do, we're going to want the Golden Age to trigger right away, because again, we are heading towards universities, and that's going to mean citizens being pulled off the land. So let's try to maximize that as best as we can. Okay, we can heal another turn, so let's do that. Boatman's working on the visibility along the coast. Probably have to barter for open borders there, it looks like, so that's not ideal. Let's end outside the borders just because we can. Obviously, the transient trespassing is not a big deal in the long run, but yeah, so there we go. Everything's getting fed. Nice. All right, we're continuing on. Open borders. Probably should have thought about that a little bit more. We have a religion. He's got a religion. I think the main reason to not have open borders is for, like, missionaries coming through and stuff. If he invades our land and then decides to declare war, our borders get closed up and they get ejected, so that's not a problem. Anyways, we just finished optics, so I want to come into both of these cities and do the lighthouses. In fact, you know what? We didn't have any competition before for the first coastal wonder, and Great Lighthouse hasn't been built yet. I wonder, we haven't seen any other boats except from the Ottomans, and they could have built this by now, so what if we try that? Let's see, 23 hammers here, 21 hammers here, so right now Machu's the better candidate. And technically he has less to build because Olan was getting a market up. It hasn't built its circus yet. So yeah, this has less to build in general and has higher hammer count. This will be where the Great Lighthouse will be attempted. Alright, so Cusco has grown. Do we got... Yep, that's the one that's going in the rest of the Writers Guild. So once we have our filler policy, we'll take a look at that and see how that lines up with things. Wine for salt has expired, so let's just go ahead and reestablish that. Also, wine, iron. I still don't want to be trading to this guy. He's just the only one that wants it right now, so we'll do that. Because he is volatile, and I don't want to give him a reason. Armas seeks a great writer. Okay, so that's... we'll have one in 14 turns. And this is degrading, so 11. So right after we lose them as a friend, we'll probably get them as an ally for a minute. That's kind of handy. Perhaps, let's see. And we did switch to the Great Lighthouse just before we chop this down. So this will make it go even quicker. And now that that's a bare hill, let's go ahead and lock that guy in there because it's the same amount of hammers, only now he'll get the food the moment that is finished. And we won't have to worry about it running out. Okay, gold is connected. That's +4 happiness. So look at this. This is kind of nice. If we do get Chichen Itza, we'll have a golden age shortly thereafter. So obviously that's going to pare down as we grow, which we're not going to stop doing. Anyways, let's get back on track for education. We got the food stuffs out of the way. Let's head towards theology. Not much in it for us, but... it's a requisite for education. We can get gardens up in our river cities. So there is that. I managed to click off the window. Crap. I was hoping to hop up on that hill, get a little visibility. We're not at full health. I guess we can heal for a turn. He wasn't there last turn, so I'm hoping that means he doesn't have so many units. We kind of want to stay close to the coast without actually getting on the coast. Some point there's going to be ice that prevents the boat from moving any further, so we do want to kind of get some eyes on that if possible.
Go on.
All these distances always want 2 gold per turn. Those rats. Alright, but we got through. Oh, look at this. Okay. Yeah, he's way far across the world, but he really enjoys the fact that we gave his missionary back. Which is illusory, because he would not hesitate to use it to convert us if he could. But okay, so there's some ice. It is good that we're coming back this way. The boat won't be able to reach here. So, yeah, that works out. Okay, and our patience over here is rewarded as well. So our scouts are nearing a point of completion. We still have a lot of cloud, though, so let's not let up on that. Although the camp over there, if somebody starts acting upon it, maybe we can swoop in and rescue some civilians, get some more Armas rep and such, but that would be nice. Alrighty, we'll step up on this hill. No camp spawn in the meantime, that's helpful. Alright, this guy's heading back south. Sorry, Melbourne, it's just for a second. I wonder how much unhappiness comes from a turn of trespassing. And does it matter by era? That's interesting information. Because I do try to avoid it where possible, but I'm also not too afraid. -6? No kidding. I didn't realize it was that bad. Okay, well. Glad I've already been trying to avoid it. Alright, so we were finished with this farm here, and it looks like Portugal's got a city on top of us. This is going to grow next turn anyways, but we want to grow in the capital, so I still want to make that change. And I want this river farm too, so let's buy that tile. Um, this is 4th ring, so we can't buy it. And I don't think either one of us is going to care about this tile too much. It's not on the river. So that will be that. But we do have this lookout that no longer needs to be here. So we'll go ahead and start stowing it. Probably here, just because Washington was a little irritated earlier. And it's a little close to Poland. Not too much, though. So new growth, we'll put that on the wine until some farms are up. It's food. Well, I should say developed food specifically. She wants a horse for her new city that's right on top of us. I mean, it's not the worst of things, right? Especially since it's such a young city. We'll convert it in no time, and that will help us repeat throughout this whole area. Yeah, she's got a lot of cities. She's going to be really instrumental in spreading our religion passively through the south. So now that we have these river tiles for ourselves, like, I actually welcome that. He came off the gold, right? Yeah, because we're going to do this. So this is now Roadie 2. Since Roadie's a little busy at the moment, we can do a turn on a road there and get those extra. Because our population is such that these city connections, holy crap, this one's worth 12 gold already, right? And this population's only 2 fewer. It'll actually be 1 fewer by the time we get that up. So that'll be almost 10 gold or 10 gold or something. So, yeah. Okay, let's play some leapfrog. Oh, this was the wrong alley to venture down. Looks like we might have to go around. There's a lot of gangs back there. That's not a good neighborhood for our scout. So let's keep tabs on this guy. They're picking on England for now, but she's in defensive mode and just healed up. 300 gold. You are dreaming, sir. Okay, so Sweden's gonna occupy them. They shot us anyways. I can't believe that. Alrighty. So let's get him out of there, get him to safety. Let's see, borders grew. That means this archer is no longer needed here because this has visibility here and here, so yeah, and this already has visibility here. So this guy can get stowed away, which means this guy can go to T1. I think that's where I was taking him anyways, but he can do Cusco. And let's see here. You get locked into the wine because it's a developed food tile. Melbourne desires wine. Desires Petra. Oh, I'm going to get so punished for this. People were talking about Petra early, and I totally get that. Because we did want the trade routes with Colossus. And even though we don't have desert, nobody else seems to have too much, so we could have competed for it, probably. We have enough caravans to feed the capital, so I wasn't too worried about it. So Melbourne decides it wants wine and science at the same time. We actually have 2 copies of wine. Looks like it's coming back in 20 turns and 28 turns. So in 20 turns, and that's almost as long as it takes for this. So this will be our ally at some point, and we will get some sugar. So that's pretty good. Let's see here. We have a enhancement opportunity here. Let's go ahead and trigger that. Second follower belief. Okay, so there is a happiness one left, but it only applies to 2 of our cities. Going back to the tunnel vision discussion, my tunnel vision is that a pantheon is primarily for generating faith, and the religion itself is primarily for generating happiness. So I'm inclined to choose peace gardens. Now, it is important to keep in mind that swords into plowshares, which is the other one I think is semi-worthy here, applies to excess food. Now, we have a lot of that in the capital, so this would be big in the capital. And T1's starting to do a lot of civil service, freshwater farms. So their overall food is going to be going up. And also keep in mind that because this is more of a jungle city, once universities are up, we're going to populate the university. We're also going to want to work the extra jungle tile that we're not. So usually jungle cities around university times sink into a slump of very low production and then you got to make a lot of growth to like get back into your production tiles and stuff like that. So the excess growth of, in fact, my fourth caravan I intend to send as a food trade route to T1 to try to offset that. So I totally could see swords into plowshares. It too, just like Peace Gardens, would mostly only affect those two cities, because the coastal cities, whichever one's getting the trade route, will obviously be getting decent amount of food. And then as far as enhancer beliefs, my tunnel vision is usually either itinerant preachers or religious texts. That's primarily based on the map layout. For example, Machu and Olan are more than 10 hexes apart, but less than 13. So itinerant preachers would allow them to influence one another. We have a trade route between them, so that doesn't apply here. But as far as like all these cities here, the distance of influence wouldn't be important, right? Because even Buenos Aires is like 10, less than 10 from Olan, but more than 13 from Cusco. So I would be inclined to choose religious texts here. And the other thing to keep in mind is that not only does religious text improve now, but more so after printing press. So there's that. Now, as far as the filler policy, I often look at commerce because of the gold intake. And to be honest, when I do go into commerce, I find more value in wagon trains than I do in the opener. That's not going to apply as much here because we're Inca. Our road maintenance is already halved outside of hills and free in hills, if I'm not mistaken. It would still add 2 gold to our food trade routes, but again, we don't even know if we're going to have a second filler policy. So there's that. Because we have occupied a defensive stance and we're mostly just going to be building buildings, I would even see Liberty into Republic as being a way to progress. But again, we don't know if we're going to need a second filler policy. Aesthetics, I sometimes choose the extra like writers and stuff, because we could go for a culture victory. I think we're more poised for a science victory, but you know, culture victories are a little more intricate to pull off. So if we wanted to do that, we could go this route, and then of course patronage can also be useful. In fact, I tend to lean on patronage during times when Sweden or Greece are on the map, or like Venice or Austria, I think also to a lesser extent. And Sweden is here, right? So I'm also liking patronage. And the other thing to keep in mind in terms of patronage is keep in mind our gold per turn is actually pretty decent already. And then when we get these other trade routes up, another 10 gold per turn per city. So this could be more like 70-ish around right now. And it's only going to get more as the... well, that's not entirely right. Point being is that good use of that money is buying city-states. You know, all the food in the capital we can get, we got lots of them. You know, buying into culture once we hit rationalism, got lots of them. Buy our way into instant happiness with some of these mercantile. Is that what they're called? Yeah, mercantile. So yeah, city-states might actually be an option. So I think I'm leaning towards patronage here. Here I think I'm leaning towards peace gardens and religious texts. But we are past the half-hour mark, so I think this is a fine point to end on so that I can get your guys' input. What policies would you choose, or policy would you choose, and why? And what beliefs would you choose right now and why? And just to make that easier for you guys, unfortunately it doesn't all fit on the screen at one time. So there is that. I did say I was leaning towards peace gardens with swords into plowshares being a close second. That's how I see it, but let me know what you guys think. Anyways, I think that's a fine point to end on. Get some audience participation. Let me know what you guys think. Hey, I'm trying. I got some Chichen Itza and Great Lighthouse going on here. So, please post in the comments your thoughts, and please include explanations as well, because the thought process behind them is just as interesting to me as the conclusions themselves. But enjoy the rest of your day otherwise, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.